Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengal fan, and I'm here as always with Sam Snyder from Primetime Sports Talk, and we are here doing a recap of another heartbreaking but exciting game to watch, but just a heartbreaking ending to a Bengal loss. And as usual, we'll break down the good and the bad. Before we get started, Sam, tell them where they can find all your stuff.
Absolutely. You can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You. I write for Primetime Sports Talk. You can find us at Talk Primetime or at primetimesportstalk.com.
Sounds good. All right, so let's just get right into it. Obviously, we go through the good and the bad. We're going to do the bad first, and I'm going to cut down a lot of this stuff. First and foremost, I'm going to talk about Carlos Dunlap. And I've had issues with this coaching staff, but I also have not agreed with how he's dealt with a lot of this stuff. We had all the drama preceding this. We've had drama following this. I would like to encourage everybody, if you get a chance, to watch Ace Boogie on New Stripe City. Did a great show where he gave out a lot of information that he was sitting on because he couldn't release it. I want you to watch that show, and then Sam and I will do a show just on the locker room. We're going to try to get it in tomorrow night at halftime during the game, so we'll get it up maybe Monday night. But we're going to do a show just on the locker room and the Dunlap situation, the coaches. So we'll do a show tomorrow on that. We don't want it taking over the recap. We've got enough with this game to cover to where I don't want it, taking over this show. But that's my feeling on it, is watch that background, and then we'll go over our stuff from there. And you could throw in whatever you've got that you want to add to that teaser for the.
Yeah, sure. I think there's going to be a lot to say that we're gonna be able to talk about. And Carlos tweeted out apparently from the sideline today that he was selling his house, and then Tyler Boyd chimed in and called him out on it. And it's
not getting prettier, but we'll go over all that. And if you do live in the Cincinnati area and you have some spare scratch sitting around, apparently there's a really nice home that's going to be available, furnished or unfurnished. So he's flexible. So there's a deal there if you're interested.
I think 6,000 square feet is what I saw. But it's serious inquiries only. So please,
don't just jerk him around. I mean,
don't contact Carlos unless
show up with your checkbook.
Don't contact Carlos unless you got the scratch for it.
Right. So, but we're going to cover all that. And like I said, we had an exciting game. We had a lot of good and a lot of bad come out of today, and we want to focus on the game today. And then we're going to do this special show tomorrow night. So that's where we're at here. Enough said. Throw that one in the background for tomorrow. Good. Let's get through the stuff during the game. We continue to struggle with the tight end and the running back. It's just no question. You watch that second half comeback, and you were shaking your head. I want to ask you, when we were leading at half and when we took the lead at the end, did you believe we were going to win the game?
Actually, yeah. This week I did. Okay. Last week, I know when you asked when we were up 21-0, did I think we would win? I said no. This week, I did. I believed we would, and not just because I picked the Bengals to win this game, although I would have been way off on the score even if we did. But I did. I felt good about it. I felt about our ability to finish the game off. But I wasn't counting on Lou Anarumo coming in and screwing everything up.
Well, yeah, and we're going to get into that because there was our 2-minute defense. It comes in to play right before half at every time. So that's my next big one, is the 2-minute defense, because it's what we take the lead, we give it up, we take the lead again, and we give it up because we're in the prevent us from winning defense. So I've got that as a bad. Jonah, Hopkins, and Higgins all got hurt. The Jonah was the neck, and the Hopkins was the concussion. Then we get our nightmare line coming in. I mean, you're sitting there with Fred Johnson, Billy Price.
Yeah, Fred Johnson at left guard.
Basically, our two best linemen leave, and you're sitting there.
Fred Johnson at left guard and Billy Price at center, and I was like, "Oh, this
can't be good. This can't be good."
This is not going to be good.
And then I heard the announcers, and I don't know who they are. It's one of the lesser crews that cover our games.
I will say this. Let me interject real quick. Yeah. The guy that actually called the game is Spiro Adidas.
Right.
He was the Laker announcer for years. I don't know if he still is. I don't think he is. I think he's one of the best in the business. So I don't mind him.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the color guy was Adam Archuleta.
Right.
Who I could take or leave.
Or former Ram DB, he had his moments,
Yeah,
but
it's just a side note.
Yeah,
I'm just a big.
I don't mind them.
I'm a big Spiro Adidas fan, so I'm gonna say it.
Well, I don't know. There's so many ex-players that we don't have like Romo and the different crews that you kind of go, okay, I don't know who it is that's there. Some of the voices, but they said when Fred Johnson came in, they said, yeah, so Jonah's out. Fred Johnson will be there at left tackle. He'll have Burrow's blind side. And I cannot tell you, goosebumps just raised my arm. I was like, oh my God, Fred Johnson has Burrow's blind side. It was definitely that's bad. That's why that was when I heard them go through who was in the line. I said, okay, Hart, Redmond. You start hearing Hart, Redmond, Johnson, Billy Price. When you hear all four of them out on the field at the same time, that's not good. So
yeah, and Jonah, they're going to show clips all the time of Jonah getting beat by Myles Garrett on that nasty sack.
Right.
But overall, he was playing very well before he left the game.
Right.
I'm just concerned because they said it was a neck injury, and they immediately said he will not return to the game. Right. Whereas Trey Hopkins, he's injured. And then a while later, they said, yeah, he's not going to return.
Well, no, they said concussion. You might have missed that. They said he's out with a concussion. He's been concussed. Yeah, he's getting checked for concussion. And as soon as I heard concussion and neck, I knew neither one was coming back because one of them you can't risk if you didn't get concussed, you will very shortly. It's easier to get it once you've already been dinged. And with the neck, I knew that the procedure to examine the neck is something that's done outside of the team facility. So he's done for the day and going off to the.
And speaking of which, and I hate to get off topic here, but it's something that I think interests Bengals fans. Man, I got some thoughts for Andy Dalton right now because he took a dirty helmet to helmet hit, really dirty.
I had that in my general comments that we wanted to send our best out to Dalton because that and Bostic got ejected immediately and hopefully he's suspended, but we'll see what happens. But
it's just, it was, he got hit. He lost his helmet too. I mean, that's how hard he got hit.
Yeah.
Helmet came off and he was completely out cold. And I think one of the most unnerving things was actually watching him wake up and being so terribly confused.
Right.
And, we all agree that's what this game is, but and that these things kind of come with the territory, but you never like to see that, especially to a guy that's so close to you.
Yeah, no, and he's, like I said, I've never ever had an issue with Andy as a person. So, and I wanted nothing but the best for him. The second he went to Dallas. So, I had that down here. Best wishes to Dalton for the cheap shot by Bostic. So, it was down here. And the other thing I have going into the Jonah thing was too many times they thought that we could single team Myles Garrett. They didn't. There were a couple times where they max protect and they would bring Sample back to block with Gio. So you had Gio and Sample in the backfield, but that was only a few times. Most of the time, the plan of our coaching staff was to have one person pick up Garrett. And that to me is a losing proposition. You're asking Jonah. It just takes one of those quick shot, jumps off the line like that. No one's going to stop Myles Garrett.
So, yeah, I agree, and it's Mark, you and I should be coaches because we talk about the fact before the game that Myles Garrett is going to be moved around and that he's a terror. He's a terror. It's just you can't expect. First of all, you can't expect Jonah, who's basically a rookie, to be able to block him every time. You can't expect anybody on the right side when they move him over there because the right side is horrible to block him every time. You got to double team the guy. I guess the only problem is we have an offensive line that I don't know that we can afford to double team and still count on those guys to block people in front of them. Although I will say this, having Gio Bernard in the game is a godsend on plays like that.
Oh yeah, no, there's no question. He's a much better blocking back than Mixon, and we don't tip our hand as whether we're running or passing. That's one of the big advantages. We brought it up in our preview, and it stood true today. Yeah,
that was one of my good things. I'll bring that up a little bit more later, but. Yeah, I mean, we knew Myles Garrett would be tough. I mean, still at the end of the day, Burrow ended up taking 4 sacks.
Right.
That's not terrible.
No.
Compared to how it's been, and 2 of them were his fault.
Yeah, well, and there was, and here's the other thing. They were all, because I had good and bad. I had the bad about the 4 first half sacks. The good is that was all 4 sacks. They didn't have any sacks in the second half. But I think a lot of that had to do with Burrow's play calling. And there was a play. Well, I'm going to bring this up in the good, so I'm going to wait. So that was all I pretty much had. I'm going to leave the bad at that. That's all I had for the bad.
That's fine. I've got another bad. Joe Burrow, who we're fans of. He's got to stop staring down the receiver. He has to. That is why that tipped pass turned into an interception. Who was the first one? If Denzel Ward didn't get it, then the other guy that was right there would have tipped it before Goodson came down with it. He's watching guys too much, and it's a rookie thing. It's to be expected. So I'm not.
That's funny because I skipped that. My very first line here, it says rookie growing pains, because that was the first thing I typed because it happened on our first drive. And I thought, here we had this really nice drive. And then he just kind of just chuck it away and we'll go to another play. It was I think we still had downs left. That was not a 3rd and goal play. But,
and I agree. And at one point when we were, I think it was late in the 3rd, when we were driving for a touchdown, my buddy texted me when Burrow took a sack, and he said, I actually like him taking that sack. And I was like, as opposed to him, it was before the Bullock 47-yard field goal on 3rd down. He was like, I don't mind that sack. And I was like, well, I don't mind it either, but I would prefer to see him learning and throw the ball out of bounds, because he's still not doing it. And I think he was outside the tackles.
He did twice today. He chucked the ball out of bounds, and a couple times he also cut back on the yardage he was going to try to get and headed to the sidelines and got out of bounds, which I like to see too. So
yeah, I like that a lot. But I agree with you. It was rookie growing pains. Obviously I don't like losing Hopkins and Jonah. We talked about that.
Right.
The last thing, and we don't completely agree on coaching of this team.
Right.
But Anarumo is not the whole package. He's not the whole package. I like his schemes. I kind of like a lot of what he's bringing, but at some point, this prevent defense that we fall into, that, as you like to say, prevents you from winning.
Yes.
We're using it more than other teams normally would, and I guess he's trying to mask some issues, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
Didn't we come out?
So what I'm saying, I guess, is I don't mind Anarumo's schemes, and I don't mind the guys he's putting out there, the personnel, but he's not the total package, and he's falling into a play not to lose situation that I'm not fond of.
No, every week. And it's did we open the second half? We had the lead.
Yes.
It scored. We opened the second half with a soft zone.
Yeah, we opened the second quarter with a soft zone.
Yeah, I mean, and we did in the second half, coming out in the 3rd quarter. So I didn't. Once again, why do we want to let's come out aggressive, 3 and out, and make that deferment from the coin flip mean nothing. That's to me, but instead we come out and what do? We let Baker get some confidence, and from that point on, he was off and running. I personally, because I asked you the question at halftime, I bet the Cleveland Browns second half, because I thought even if the Bengals pulled us out, it's going to be down to the last play, and I knew Hopkins and Williams were out. And I said, you know what? I going on how we play at the end of games, all that. At no point at halftime did I believe that we were going to win this game. And I liked, like I said, the Browns second half.
It's almost like you like the fact that our coaches suck.
No, well, listen, here's the thing. I separate my world there's the heart and the mind. Okay, this is what governs what I'm betting on,
right?
And this is what governs what I'm rooting for. Okay,
well,
so I immediately said, "Oh, okay." Well, my brain said Brown second half, which was winner. So, like I said, that's a different.
We'll talk more about that tomorrow for sure.
We'll talk more about that tomorrow. So, all right, so let's get to the good. The good. And it's always on here. Burrow. I mean, he's gutty. When we were driving for the take the lead, it was early in the fourth quarter. We took the lead, then lost the lead, then took the lead again. We had a 3rd and 1 at, I don't know, about the 30-yard line, somewhere, on the Brown side of the field. And we had a false start. And then we had another penalty, 2 consecutive offensive lines. The first one was on Fred Johnson, made it a 3rd and 6. And the next one, we had Billy Price making it a 3rd and 11. And you could see the frustration on Burrow. And I like to see that, the competitive nature. He was angry. He's letting his offensive lineman, Joey's pissed off. And then what does he do? He calls his own number on a quarterback sneak and runs it up 11 yards. Now, I don't like seeing him run and take the hit, especially we got Tennessee and Pittsburgh coming up, and I want Burrow to survive these games. I don't want him being lost for the season because he's running too much, but I also love the gutty nature of just calling his own number, just taking 2 steps back and running right up the middle for 11 yards.
Yeah, so. I agree. And man, I'm surprised we actually got in on that drive when we were on the goal line and the first sneak didn't get in. First of all, right before that sneak, I was like, this is quarterback sneak. Right. They're not giving it to Gio. And then when he didn't get in, I was like, they're going to do it again. And it worked out. I mean, he scored the touchdown. But, yeah, it's frustrating. You don't want him to
take those hits.
You don't want him to take hits. But he does certainly look good. He's got the rookie growing pains.
Right.
But he looks good out there. And that's worth being happy about. I mean, the guy threw for 400 yards and 3 touchdowns.
I saw just on a side note, I saw the proposition was 295 over under on his throwing yards. And I really thought about it, but I was so clouded about today's game that I just stayed off it. The only bet I put on the game was the Brown second half. I stayed off. I liked the over, but I was questioning it. And so whenever I waffle, I just, don't do it. And
right. Well,
but I did see the 295 and then he hit 300 yards like early in the third quarter. And I was like,
Yeah, I actually talked to a good friend of mine, Brad, who went to the game today. He was at, Bengal Jim's tailgate and went to the game. And he was like, how do you feel about the over? And I was like, man, anytime I bet the total in an AFC North game, I'm wrong every time.
You get that 1916 game
and yet
on
today,
an over 42 or something.
Yet today, blew it away. No problem.
Yeah, no. So, but I did like the guttiness of Burrow. We ran the hurry up to start right on and we should do that more often. I don't know why we don't do that more often.
I don't know. Did I say that?
Yeah, we've been saying it from the beginning in that he operates better in the
for weeks.
We've been saying that. You've been banging that drum for a while, and Burrow got rid of the ball quicker today. I mean, that was one of the things he did do is to neutralize Garrett. And I think that's why we had we had no sacks in the second half, was Burrow got rid of it. And we had, we talked how bad our 2-minute defense was. We didn't get to see, I thought if we scored early, and left time on the clock in the first half, we would see how our 2-minute defense did at the end of the half. We didn't get to see that because we basically ended the game by scoring, but we did see ended the half scoring, but we did see a good 2-minute offense to close out the half, which is what
I agree. And the one of the things I was going to mention earlier when you were talking about seeing Burrow directing traffic, calling his own number, I was really excited to see on that quarterback sneak. I was thrilled to see him give that ball to Trey Hopkins. And I'm not a lip reader, but I'm pretty sure what he said was fucking spike the ball. And Trey Hopkins it might have bounced 40 feet in the air because he was so pumped up. And that's what you do. That's what a veteran does. Right. So it's great to see that from a rookie too. But overall, I agree. Joe looked great today. This is why we got him. We know that we're not a Super Bowl contender this year. If anybody did, I'm sorry.
No.
If anybody thought we were, I'm sorry. But Burrow has looked like the consummate professional and leader, and doing things like giving the ball to your center after a quarterback sneak for a touchdown.
He followed Redmond went high and Hopkins went low, and he followed Hopkins underneath.
Yep.
So it's the horse. He followed the right horse. If he goes up with Redmond, he's going to get grilled.
Handed the ball right to him and said, "Spike it."
Basically. Yeah. So that's what I had on that. That's what I had on the good stuff. And then obviously my last comment, this is more of a general comment, is AJ Green had a really good game. He showed he had some great. He didn't fight enough for the ball when the ball got knocked out of his hands in the end zone, but he was being covered by Ward. He had the best coverage guy on him all day, and he still excelled. So I was going to say, if there's any thoughts that we're going to trade AJ, you and I have talked before. Mike Brown hates to pay players to not play for him. And the only way AJ Green gets paid is if we pick up a large portion of that. No one's going to pick up the $18 million contract for a receiver for half the season. So unless we subsidized it, and there was some huge incentive for us to do it, they're not going to trade AJ. And he showed that he's developing. This is what I wanted to see. I talked about the late blooming chemistry between him and Burrow later in the season. I think we're seeing some of that. I think after the bye, it's going to get better. And so
I agree. And AJ is, at this point, if we trade him, he's down to, gosh, I want to say maybe 10 million that somebody would have to pick up.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No one's going to do that for that short amount of time. We would have to subsidize.
No, it's a rental, and I'm not saying we should. But I'm with you on that.
Right.
I thought he looked really good, and he's obviously getting better physically. He's developing a little more chemistry. He had some moves today where you were like, "There he is. That's AJ.
Right.
There he is."
Well,
he ended up with 7 catches for 82 yards. The wide receivers, I mean, obviously the wide receivers are going to do well when your quarterback is going to throw for over 400 yards.
Right.
But you got, Green had 7 for 82. Boyd had 11 for 101 and a touchdown. Even though a lot of people are going to say, I don't really remember seeing Boyd except for on that touchdown. He still led the team in catches.
Oh, no.
He still led the team in yards. Boyd is the bread and butter.
He's the Wes Welker. He's the Julian Edelman. I mean, he's the guy when you need to move the sticks. He's the guy they go to, and that's
and week in and week out, Higgins looks better and better.
Right.
I don't think he had any drops today. 5 catches, 71 yards, had that beautiful touchdown.
Yeah, the touchdown, he was aided by the Browns because one of the DBs came in to hit him and hit his own guy out of the way is basically what happened, and that's how Higgins just kind of scooted in. So
I love the way they played. But yeah, I'm glad you mentioned AJ because he was in my like column because what I liked about the game, because it seems like he just keeps looking more and more like himself, and he's fooling guys. And man, he had one where he ran up and did a stop, and the DB was like 5 yards upfield by the time the ball got into AJ's chest because he juked him so bad.
Right.
And I'm like, yes, sir. That's what I want.
Yeah.
The only other, I had 2 other good ones that I can gloss over pretty quickly. We talked about this. I talked about this in the preview and in my write-up for Primetime Sports Talk. Having Gio Bernard on the field is not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Because we've talked a million times about when Gio comes in, everybody knows either it's a pass play or it's a pass play to him.
Right.
So today it was more, he's there every down. We don't really know what's going to happen. And Gio looked great. His average, I think, per rush was under 3 yards. But his screen passes.
Yeah, I was going to say the running back screen was great because they didn't know.
Yeah, and you know what? I think people forget that Gio's pretty explosive, and even when he was getting the handoff, man, he got to that line of scrimmage pretty fast, and with no jukes, just running forward.
Now you're making me feel bad. I wore my Burrow jersey today, and I could have worn my Gio home jersey. This would have been a good day for the 25 right here. So, maybe next week we'll see.
And I guess the last thing I'll say is, and we don't have to talk about it too much, especially if we're gonna, maybe talk, tomorrow about coaching, is, as disappointed as I was about Anarumo on defense, I was thrilled with the play calling on offense today. I really didn't have hardly any issues with anything they did. I loved the some of the little slick plays we did with Boyd and so on and so forth. We weren't just running into the pile on first down every time. We weren't doing run, pass. We were mixing it up. And that's a good thing, which tells me that, like him or not, and we'll talk about this, Zach Taylor's he's learning. And, Zach Taylor's basically a rookie head coach. So I'm always excited when I see him doing a little something different than he did the week before or the week before that. I'm not saying he's perfect. Just it's nice to see progression.
Progress, not perfection.
Right.
So, and I do think the pass where Boyd got it, and and he ended up throwing it back across the field. But I think the play was designed to go to AJ, who was leaking out, but the Browns were hip to that. It's because when Boyd had the catch, AJ Green had two guys high and low on him, and then he turned it back. So I think that was the outlet. I think the class was designed to go Boyd to Green. But
I didn't even notice that, but it doesn't surprise me because Boyd's got such a high football IQ that it doesn't surprise me that he probably did that and went back to the sideline, and the coaches were like, "Why did you do that? Good play."
Right. Well, because you had Green kind of trailing up, but they followed him. So when Boyd got the ball, you didn't see people running down to get Boyd, which means Green's just standing there to get a touchdown. So I think, but he went to, he looked around and did something, and it's but I think that was the design of that play. But I do agree the play calling was much better today. All right, so with that, we're probably going to. We could close with first of all, we both had issues with the defensive coaching at the end. That's why I really did not believe. I said, well, this is typical. When they were driving down the field, I said, watch, we're going to lose at the end because of how we play defense in the last 2 minutes. So that was it. It was another typical Bengal end to a game.
Can I say real quick, I know we didn't win the game, but I want to bring it up because I'm not doing a victory lap here or anything.
Right.
But I am here to tell you that Mackenzie Alexander was our best offseason sign.
Oh,
and he was back in the game today. I'm not saying the defense was awesome, but if you listened, man, that dude was all over the place, covering guys, knocking down balls on third down. If you're not a Mackenzie Alexander fan, I don't know what to tell you because he and Bell
came in, and there were two different plays that I can think of where I went to type on my notes and was going to say, wow, these defensive tackles really stepped up. And then I looked, and it was Mackenzie Alexander and Von Bell that dove into the lanes and made the hits. It was not Covington. It was not Valencia. It was not any of those guys.
Run. And Bell got beat on that one touchdown, but it was not – his coverage was so good. I mean, he literally was inches from slapping that ball down in the end zone. And, yeah, it was a heartbreaker. And it was a touchdown, and it was broken coverage because there should have been a free safety there too. But Bell was all over that guy, which tells me that, like I said in the preview, he was a little angry about getting beat last week.
Right.
I guess he got beat at the end, but I was really pleased with the way he played. I was pleased with the way Mackenzie played. I was pleased with the way the entire secondary played, including, Darius Phillips was kind of ugly late, but he had that little thank you very much interception early.
He actually turned his head and he made a really good catch on it. Those are the balls.
It was kind of like, oh, there it is.
But those are the kind of balls that DBs usually don't catch.
Exactly.
Because that's why they're DBs. They're not used to, or they draw
the helmet or something.
Yeah. So
I was pleased with the secondary today. I think the secondary breakdown that happened late in the game was more a result of scheme as opposed to a result of talent.
Right. Which is why I blame our 2-minute coaching on defense.
I agree with that. I agree.
They haven't given me a reason to believe it because before every half and before the end of every game, this is what we see. So I also want to say there were two different plays today where AJ literally did more than he got called for in week 1 on OPI. He did more today. They weren't called, so it's kind of like it always brings me back to week 1 where I'm like, that was such a ticky-tack OPI call to take away the game from us, because I watched ones today where I was like, that was way more of a push-off, and I still didn't think it was OPI. But
no, it definitely wasn't. I know the one you're talking about. It definitely wasn't, because they were hand fighting all the way down the field. Right. So the ref had already decided, okay, whatever happens, happens.
Right. I'm going to let it go.
And of course, Ward got up. I think it was Denzel Ward got up freaking out about it. But it is what it is.
Yeah. So,
but we'll talk more about the coaching tomorrow for sure.
Right, we'll talk more about coaching. And then on Thursday, we'll do our preview show. Brace yourselves, everybody. I mean, Tennessee lost a heartbreaker today in Pittsburgh. That's we've got Tennessee next and then Pittsburgh. Those are our next 2 games. And
Mark, have we faced a team coming off of a win yet this season?
I do. We were talking about this before, and I do not believe we have. So once again, we
other
catch
than
an ornery.
In week 1 against the Chargers,
right?
I'm pretty sure we faced a pissed off team coming off of a loss in every game. I think.
Here we are.
You can tell me in the comments if I'm wrong.
Yeah, please, because go ahead and look at the schedule. But I think we've caught everybody off of a loss, and we've been the bounce back team. And once again, here you go, Tennessee coming. I don't know if we're going to them or they're coming to us, but does it matter? It doesn't. I mean, there's hardly anybody in the stands anyway. Yeah, home field advantage is kind of out the door. It kind of is. But so brace yourselves for the next 2 weeks. So we're going to get a coaching locker room video up tomorrow in the evening game. So you'll probably East Coast, you'll wake up to a Tuesday morning. We'll get our regular preview up when we'll talk more about the Tennessee game and how ornery they're going to be on Thursday. So with that, I want to say who to everybody. Sam, remind everybody where they can catch your stuff.
Absolutely. On Twitter at Buy and Sell You. I write for Primetime Sports Talk at Talk Primetime or primetimesportstalk.com.
Perfect. And once again, if you don't subscribe, please subscribe to this channel. That's all we ask, and we will catch you tomorrow evening. All right, take care, everybody. Hoo day.